Okay, so Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Nasir Hussain. I am an Indian and an electrical engineer by profession, by my degree, and I am working in telecommunication industries for past 25 years. Um, I've been living in Houston for almost 5 to 7 years. We have a big population of NED graduates here, so we have a NED Alumni Association of Houston, that is basically NEDA Houston, or Houston NEDA. And we basically, our objective is to organize the alumni from NED University, also encourage young graduate from NED University, you know, prepare them and engage with them and contribute to our alma mater back home. With that said, I would like to introduce today with you four very brilliant students from NED University, and they are basically right now, um, graduated from NED, and they have put a lot of effort to come to US. Now they are studying. Some of them have already graduated and they are contributing to the society, working in industry. So we have Yamna Javed, who is basically a graduate from NED in civil engineering. She holds two master's degree, one in bridge designing, other one in construction management. She is currently working as a bridge design engineer. She's based in Houston, but she has been studying in most reputable Texas universities. So she's here with us. She has contributed here. Then we have Abdullah Zam. He has recently joined University of New Mexico. Abdullah has previously done masters in civil engineering from NED University. Abdullah is currently actually on a what do you call? He had a field visit, so he just messaged me. He will be unable to join the call because the signals there are uh, non-existent. Then we have Yasser Ali Khan. He's here. He has put a lot of effort, so I would personally thank him. Along with all of others, but Yasser has put personal efforts in this to happen. Yasser is currently doing PhD in AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning. He's a graduate from NED. He is currently in Texas A&M University, one of the most reputable university in Texas. Then we have Talha Hassan Khan. Talha is a PhD candidate in University of. He also is basically president of Society of Well Engineers, and he represents Pakistan as well as NED in UFH. A very bright and emerging student. So we basically thought there was some questions coming in from many students to apply for universities, what to do. So we thought that the best way would be to have a webinar session and provide that information in one go. And people who want to join in or people who want to contribute can always uh, reach out to us or ask questions. So the format of this webinar is that it would be like 30 to 45 minutes. And then you can always chat or type in your questions on the right side. And if we have time, we will be uh, providing you answers to that. So with that, I will give the floor to Yasser. Yasser, please start your presentation and we'll go from there.
Okay, so hello everybody. So I'm Yasser from batch 1415, as Dr. Nasser already mentioned. So the main focus of this webinar is to provide you guys the guideline on how to apply, what are the opportunities, because as per of our experience while we were in the bachelor's in NED, uh, we are not provided with that much detailed information regarding what are the further opportunities that we can pursue. And there is not much guidance in terms of scholarship and how we can basically pursue higher education, you can say in US or other Europe side and all those stuff. So there is a gap between that specific information. So the goal of this webinar was to fulfill that gap and provide you guys with the guidance and our experience, like how you can basically pursue these scholarship and how to avail this such scholarship. So we will just following the same steps that I talked about right now, that we will following the what are the necessary steps, what is the process, and how we can apply for the scholarship and how different types of scholarships are available and what would be the best option for you guys to pursue. So, and then at the end of the webinar, you guys can basically ask specific questions regarding to your cases or whatever you guys want guidance on from us, and we will be more than happy to answer those questions. So, starting on that, let's move to the presentation. So if I talk about the available paths for us after bachelor's, are basically there are three different paths. So either we can go for the master's or PhD, right? So for the master's, we basically required by bachelor's, and if you're going for the PhD, you basically require master's, right? So if you don't have a master's, you're not eligible for the PhD degree. But there's another option that we are not aware of, and I myself is on the master's degree based on this option, which is direct PhD, right? So for the direct PhD, you can just apply directly after bachelor's, and it's a dual degree. You will get the master's as well as the PhD. And I think this direct PhD is only offered in the US portion, and whereas in the Europe side, it is not that much. You can say familiar or more prominent, or you can say more familiar. But there are some countries in the Europe too that basically offer direct PhD, but it is more common in US. So if you talk about the master's degree, you can basically go for the master's and have two different options. Either you can do the thesis option or the non-thesis one, right? So for the thesis option, we basically have to complete 32 credit hours, and it's probably take around 2 years for you to complete it. And for this specific degree, you have to do a thesis, basically show some sort of dissertation, like what you have done. Basically, it's a sort of a research that you do with the professor. So you have to find a professor in your master's degree that will guide you in terms of a thesis, and then you have to defend your thesis in your last semester. And then there's another option, which is non-thesis, which is more in line towards, you can say, industry and people who just want to go to the industry and attain some specific sort of skills, or you can say uh, uh, more information related to industry, they tend to go towards non-thesis. So in terms of my own experience, there's not a more difference between thesis and non-thesis. The only difference is that in thesis you have to do some sort of dissertation and have to specify a professor who you're going to work under with him. And for the non-thesis, you are free on your own. You just have to do the coursework. Either you can do the internship, and you just have to show one project that you have worked on, and just you're done with the thesis, non-thesis one. And for the non-thesis, you only have to do 30 credit hours, and the duration is similar. That is, you're probably going to need 2 years to complete the masters for the either thesis or non-thesis. Then we have the PhD degree. So ideally, the PhD should be completed in 3 years, but in terms of university and professors tend to extend it beyond 3 years, and it probably take around like 4 to 5 years for a student to get graduate with a PhD degree. This is talking about a common ground, as we have seen many cases where professors tend to stretch a little bit more than the 3 years. But you can graduate it in 3 years if are in good terms with the professor and you have completed all your requirements, especially the dissertation, because PhD dissertation is one of the biggest, you can say, hurdle, or you can say biggest achievement in the PhD that you have to overcome. And for the PhD, we have 64 credit hours, and we have to do the dissertation part. And in terms of the coursework, if I talk about in masters, you have to do around 9 to 10 courses. So you have to do 9 to 10 courses, it's around like 27 to 30 credit hours. So for the non-thesis one, you have to do 9 courses, which sums around 27 courses, 27 credit hour. 9 courses equal to 27 credit hours. And for the thesis, non-thesis one, you have to do 10 courses, which is equivalent to 30 credits, right? And in terms of the PhD, I'm talking about the Texas A&M University, and it may vary from university to university, but mostly it's some sort of similar in all the universities. And if we talk about the PhD, in PhD, out of 64 credits, you have to do around 6 courses, which is equivalent to 18 credit hours, and the rest is research hours. So this is the master's and PhD programs are. And if we talk about the direct PhD program, that is basically comprising of 96 credit hours. So in this one, you have to do around 14 courses, which is equivalent to, you can say, it's around uh, 42 credit hours, and the rest are research credit hours. And in this program, you have the option to get your master's out as you are completed with the master's requirement, and you will have a degree, additional degree, while you are pursuing your PhD. So probably if you add up the credit hours, it's similar to if you either do masters and the PhD, because the sum is equivalent to 96. But if you calculate the time, like adding the summers, so the direct PhD is completed around 4.5 years, ideally, and it's a shorter path if you are planning to do masters and then PhD. And then if you talk about the pros and cons for these degree, for the master's on thesis, they are very little, or you can say negligible, or say no scholarship. And if you talk about the thesis program, you have some chances of scholarship in terms of different prestigious scholarship, as well as doing some research under professor. So there's the plus side for the thesis, or you can say research masters. And if you talk about the PhD, so PhD is mostly funded, right? Because PhD is a long commitment and you have to work on research under the professor. So in most of the university, PhD is fully funded, and it's the responsibility of the university to find the, you can say, funding for you. But in some universities, it depend on the professor. Either professor has the funding or not. So you have to make sure what are the financial, you can say, situation of your professor and where do you stand. And in most of my experience, if you are enrolled in a PhD, so you are funded, and there won't be a problem regarding the funding, because professor will find some way to fund you, either his own funding or some other professor's funding, or he'll probably recommend you for a TA. And what is TA, I'm going to talk about later on. So in this slide, the basic idea is that we have three different paths. Like if you are bachelor's and you want to go for the higher studies, either you can go for the master's or you can go for the direct PhD. If you go for the direct PhD, it would be 90% that you will be fully funded. But if you go for the master's, then the competition is tough. You have to put in some extra effort and try to finding those scholarships. But it is possible that you can get fully funded masters too. And we will talk about what will be the different options for achieving those different scholarships, and then later on slides. And if we talk about the application process, so in US, most of the university has similar process, and they probably have a common application platform. Like if I talk about Texas A&M University, so Texas A&M University has a common platform that is called Engineering CAS. So you have to apply through this common platform, and the whole application process is being processed, or you can say forwarded through this specific website. And there are some different platforms from different universities. And if you go through different university of US, there are some universities that have their own, you can say, private portal that you have to apply on. But so it will depend on university to university. So you have to explore it. So what's the application process? What is the common platform that is being utilized by a specific university to apply for? And if you talk about the common deadlines for admissions, so we got 2 semesters, you can say 2 intakes, right? It's either fall or spring. So the deadline for the fall semester is in between December and January. So you have to apply before December, January to be eligible for the fall admission. And if I talk about spring semester, so the deadline is between around in October, or you can say August to October. And it varies from university to university. So you have to go through the university and see what is the deadline and plan accordingly. And if I say when should we start planning and preparing our stuff, like if you want to apply for graduate study program in the US. So you have to have at least a timeline of a year, right? Like right now, then you would be targeting 2025 fall semester. And if you apply for the spring, you can do it right now too, because I think the deadline would be too close, but get complicated because the timeline is being too much, you can say, stretched out, or is remaining very is closer to the deadline, and doing all the process and completing all this stuff would be a little bit hard. So your target should be that you should have at least a year of a time for you to do all the processing and to have a seamless and tension-free process of coming to the US, right? And if I talk about the application fee, so each university has their own application fee. So this application fee is just for applying. If you apply for a specific university, so you have to spend around $100 to $150. That is just application fee, and this is gone. So this is just an application fee for you to apply for the university. So either you get accepted or not, it doesn't matter. This application fee is gone forever. And if you scroll down to different universities, some university provide this waiver for this application fee. And if they're providing the application fee waiver, then you can apply it and you are exempted from paying this specific application fee. And you can apply without paying anything. But most of the university have the application fee and you have to invest in this part, right? So this is the application. And if I talk about semester fees in the US for different university, so the typical range of the semester fees is around $10,000 to $35,000 per semester, and it varies from university to university, and also from state to state, because different states have different regulation, have different standard of living, so it depends on that too. And if I talk specifically about Texas A&M University, so the semester fee for Texas A&M University for the international students is around $12,000 per semester, and this is for the engineering department. And this is for the international student. Then there's in-state waiver that is being applied to almost all international students. So I'm going to talk about that too in the later slides. So if you are coming on your own finances, so it's around $6,000 per semester for Texas A&M University. So it would be around, you can say, 24,000 to 25,000 for a master's non-thesis degree just for the thesis. And then there's the living cost too that you have to accommodate to. But our focus for today's webinar is to focus on the scholarship that you can basically avail to have your whole master's, or you can say PhD, fully funded. And as you're talking about the application process, just a quick overview of how you can plan or have yourself get ready for the admission process. So this is a 1 year timeline that you should basically have in your mind to start the application process, because managing time and applying beforehand is very important for the US part, because there are some uncertainty in the application process, in the visa processes, especially for the US. So you keep all those factors in your mind. So for the starting, like I've already mentioned, that we should start a year ahead before applying. So what you should guys do is that if you are planning to come for the fall 2025, you should start shortlisting universities that you are going to apply for and start preparing for the test scores like IELTS, GRE, whatever the requirements are. So for the university, the basic idea is to list down 3 to 5 universities that you are interested in applying and applying those universities. So the main goal would be to see how much is your GPA, and based on the GPA and the requirement of the university, you should target the university. So I would recommend to have one university from top 100 or top 200, and then based on your profile, if your profile is pretty good, then you can target or aim all the universities in top 200, or otherwise I would recommend target one university in top 200 and then the rest of should be below 200 in the US to have a better chance of acceptance. And if I talk about application process, so there's two different ways that you can apply for. So I'm going to talk about in the later part, but right now let's focus on the first part, that is you apply first and then you start searching for the scholarship. So right? Let's suppose you are starting your process right now. So your first goal would be to list down different universities that you're going to apply for and start preparing for your different tests. That's IELTS or GRE. And in the next month, you would be doing research preparation of the same test. And then in 10th of the month, you should take your test because test results will take time. And if the results are not as per your expectation, then you can take those tests again. So you have a, you can say, some grace period time, and you should have that time because you don't know how well your test gonna go or not. So you should have that specific grace period time in your application process too. So in the ninth month, you should start your university application. So university application gonna take some time because you have to draft some documents, you have to take letter of recommendation from your professors, and you have to fill out the form, do all necessary requirement. So it will take around a week or 2 weeks for you to fill out those forms. So your target would be to kickstart your application in your ninth month. And in the same month, I would recommend you to start looking for the different scholarship option that university offers. So every universities has some their internal scholarship as well and some external scholarship as well. So the chances of for you to get internal scholarship and external scholarships for the US universities, I would say is not pretty much high, but you can get them and you should apply to those scholarship too because it wouldn't it हमारा कुछ नहीं जाएगा कि हम apply करें या नहीं करें. So you should target those scholarships too. So in 8 or 9 months, you should be searching out different scholarship, or I'm going to talk about in later slide how you can basically approach different professors for the research positions. So these 2 months and the later on months would be more, you can say, targeted towards applying to different professors and trying to persuade them that how you're going to be a good fit for their group and how you can bring something to the table and be a part of a team of his lab or whatever. And in the 8 or 7 months, you should be focusing on drafting your resume, LOR, letter of recommendation, and statement of purpose or letter of motivation, whatever the requirements for the university application is. And by the 7th or 6th month, you should be done with your application process and still trying to pursue scholarship if you have not already obtained one. And for the 5th month, just monitor your application and keep on applying for the different scholarship or reaching out different professors because reaching out professors for funding is a hectic and hideous job. You have to put in some effort and consistency, and you're probably going to land it if you have the consistency and in some efforts. And the 4th month, you would be able to have either you're accepted or not accepted in the university. If you're accepted, then there's student visa processing, which would take some time. And if I talk about the US, so you should have at least 3 to 4 months to have everything sorted out because you can say there's a chance that 50 to 60% of the student get into AP administration processing. So it mostly take around 3 months, you can say, to process the administration processing, and then you get your visas, and then you should book your flight, prepare for the travel, and then boom, you are in the US. So Uh, if I talk about the application process, the denial and acceptance, so since you are going to apply for different universities, so you will have more chances of for you to get accepted, and it will also help in your visa processing and interview because one of the most common question that we ask while you are doing your visa interview is that how many university did you apply for and why did you choose this university? So it's also going to help you in your visa interview as well. And another good stuff is that the first approach that I talk about that you first apply to the university, you get acceptance, and then you start reaching out to the professors. So in this timeline, I encourage you guys to start reaching out to the professor beforehand. But one of the approaches that students basically apply, get acceptance from the university, and then start pursuing different professor in that specific university, stating that I've already secured my admission and I'm interested in your specific group, blah 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 research, and you just try to sell yourself to the professor that you are a good fit to his group, and if he has funding, then he would be love you would be loved you'll be willing to work with him and would love to work with him. So if he has funding, he's probably gonna fund you. So this is one approach. There's another approach which I did was that I start reaching out to the professors first. And once I got a confirmation from the professor that he is willing to fund me, then I start the application of the university. And if you do this, then the acceptance of the university is confirmed because professor is basically backing you for the admission. He basically forward your profile to the admission process, stating that this guy is gonna come and work under me. So he's applying for the admission in this university. So the admission process would just basically accept you because they don't have any worry regarding your finances because professor is already funding you. So this is on the plus side. Like if you start applying for, you can say reaching out to professor beforehand and applying scholarship beforehand, then acceptance rate of application is 100%, and you probably don't need to apply for different of for like say 2 to 3 different universities. So this is two different ways that you can pursue. The first one, apply first, then after acceptance, reach out to professors, or you can basically start reaching out to professors beforehand. And once you get any acceptance from the professor, then you start the application process. So for the second part, once you get acceptance of the professor, so you probably have to start working with him unofficially. So he would be giving you some task or some research work even before you were in the US. So in my case, like I got acceptance before even I applied for the university. So I was working with him beforehand, and we even published a paper before I was in the US. So you have to work with him because he's probably going to fund you, and you have to show the commitment level that you are more committed in working with him. So this is one side of applying before application of universities. So this is how the whole process goes. And if we talk about the prerequisite for applying, the required documents that you probably going to need for the application process, and this is somehow similar for all the universities. So the first requirement is IELTS, or you can say English proficiency test. And I believe there are more tests available right now other than IELTS and TOEFL that are much cheaper and acceptable by different universities. So you have to explore the different option that the university is basically accepting, and based on those options, go for the one that is more suitable to you in terms of finances or difficulty level. So the basic requirement for the IELTS for the admission process is that your overall score for IELTS shouldn't be lower than 6, and the score of individual category, that is writing, listening, speaking, also shouldn't be lower than 6. So this is the basic requirement for the admission process, that your score shouldn't be less than 6. And then the second requirement is GRE score. And if I talk about the US, so most of the university after COVID has made this optional. So you don't need GRE score for admission process. If you have your GRE, then it's a plus point. But if you don't have a GRE, then you should basically read out the requirement for university. And if it says optional, then you're good to go. So I myself haven't given the GRE, and I applied without the GRE and I got approved and all that stuff. So you have to go through the university and see either it's required or not. So it's not a big deal right now in the US to have a GRE score. But if you do have a GRE score with good score, then it's a plus point for you because university admission committee will probably see and take this into account. And also the professor would also have a gauging criteria for you through this score. And then there's statement of purpose, like what would be your goal, or you can say objective for applying. So this statement of purpose will be reviewed by admission committee, and you should make it more program specific instead of generalizing. So I would briefly talk about what you should cover in the statement of purpose. And as now we have Chat GPT, so I've seen many students just going to the Chat GPT, writing provide me a statement of purpose for this blah blah university, and this is blah blah my background. So Chat GPT basically produce a very generic response, and if you submit that response directly to the university, then anyone can basically identify that this is just being produced by ChatGPT and not by a student. So they wouldn't gauge it that higher. So I would recommend and insist you to use ChatGPT as a guiding tool to improve the grammar, the flow, the coherence, but don't totally depend on it to draft the whole statement of purpose for you. Try to draft it on your own and then give it to ChatGPT to further enhance its coherence and flow. So the basics things that you should be targeting in the statement of purpose is that first of all you should have one thing in your mind that it will be reviewed by admission committee, right? And we are talking about this for the admission process, right? Not for the professors. This is for the admission process. And so the first thing that you should keep in mind is that the admission committee will be overviewing and looking your statement of purpose. So they would be basically trying to find that how much self-motivated you are, how much potential you have, and your experience, and how you are basically relating with the program. And the things that you should target in your statement of purpose should be like I would say there's 5 WY. That is, why do you want this degree? What are your expectations from this degree? And then what courses or program features basically interest you? And where do you want this degree to take you in terms of professionally and personally? And how your in professional, you can say personal experience basically add value to this specific program. So try to highlight these specific 5 questions in your statement of purpose and try to think that you are the admission committee and what would you want to see in statement of purpose from a student, and try to make it more specific instead of generalizing. So this is one of the biggest problem that I have seen from the student that are basically applying for the different universities, either US or any university. So this is a universal rule. Then they require your unofficial transcript. You can upload by yourself in the admission process. Then there are recommendation letters, and it's usually around 2 to 3 recommendation letter that is being required. So most of the university basically prefer electronic recommendation letter. That is, you just have to provide the email addresses of the professors, and they will just forward an email to them, and then they have to fill their recommendation for you electronically. Or there's another option. Some universities allow the option for you to upload the hard copy of your letter, and you don't have to email your professors. And if we talk about the what's the weightage of recommendation letter and statement of purpose, so the reviewing committee in the admission process basically highlight these two, give weightage to these two specific uh, requirement very high. And if you talk about the recommendation letter, so I would encourage or say recommend to have recommendation letters from professors in higher positions other than from the professors that have just recently joined or are assistant professors. So you should target the professor who are in the academia in a longer period and are in, you can say, senior positions, because their recommendation would be of more weightage than of those who are just recently joined as an assistant professor, or uh, not that much senior. So this is one thing that you should have in your mind for having recommendation letters. And then there comes your resume. So your resume should be concise, not too long, and be program specific. You should highlight your experience and what you have done, the courses you have taken, your bachelor's, uh, detail, what was your CGPA and all those stuff. And it should be around 1 to 2 pages. And the same goes for the statement of purpose, that you should keep it as much concise as possible and try to keep it under 1 page if you can. So it's the best, but it can be around 1 to 2 pages. So this is the basic requirement for the application. So these are the 6 documents that you're gonna be needing for the application process. So once you are done with the application process and after you are getting acceptance from the university, then you have to contact our university like NED to email them the official transcript. So that's the later part. But for applying part, you don't need to go to the university NED and ask them to send your official transcript through email to the specific university that you're applying for. So in terms of application process, you just have to upload your unofficial transcript that we probably get the transcript and just scan it and just upload it on the application process. And if we talk about now the scholarships path, so this is the part that we want to focus on for this webinar, so that we have some sort of understanding and information like what are the different opportunities for us after our undergrad and or even for the graduate level. So if I talk about, there are two different paths. I would segregate one path as research, that I basically talked briefly in the starting, that you work under professor as a research assistant. You basically do research under professors. And the other path is, I would segregate as a scholarship path. So let's first talk about the scholarship path. For the scholarship part, there are some different scholarships that are available, especially for the US. The one is, it's very prestigious, is Fulbright scholarship. So for the Fulbright scholarship, this scholarship is available every year. This scholarship is for masters as well as the PhD. The scholarship covers your tuition fees and also gives you stipend. And then there's some university scholarships. These scholarships are partial scholarship, and they cover some sort of your tuition fee. And one of the scholarship is that you apply for the in-state waiver. And I'm talking on my experience for Texas A&M. So there's a scholarship called in-state waiver for international student, and I believe every international student get this scholarship if they apply for this one. So what this scholarship does is that it basically reduce your first semester fees to the in-state tuition fee, that is the fees for the domestic people, for the nationals of the US. So if, as I already mentioned, the semester fee for the Texas A&M University is around $12,000 per semester, and if you get this scholarship, then that fees is reduced down to $6,000 per semester. So it's a pretty big amount if you talk about if you are doing the masters on your own finances. Then there is some HEC scholarship that is being offered by Pakistan. So we're going to talk about those scholarships too in the later on slides. And then there's some departmental scholarship, there is teaching assistance. So one of the paths that most of the Indian students take is that they apply for the masters, they come to the US, and then start approaching for these scholarships. So they go to the department academic advisor and tell them about is there any opening for the teaching assistant, and then show their CV and interest and reach out to the professors who are basically teaching some sort of courses or taking labs, and then they show their experience that they have already done this work, or they have some prior experience of teaching or say doing labs. So they get this teaching assistant scholarship. So teaching assistant scholarship is similar to research assistant scholarship. That is, your fees would be covered by university, and you would also be getting a stipend monthly. So in this TA, you have to take either labs or you be a teaching assistant to a professor in a specific course. So your job roles would be to create assignments, check the assignments, do the grading, hold office hours for students to come and ask any questions to you. And if they have any queries regarding assignments or homeworks, then you would be overseeing all those problems. So this would be the TA ship, which is teaching assistantship. And if you talk about research assistant, the path that I would encourage, if you are willing to put in some work and efforts, then this path is much better than the TA, because TA is a hectic job and you would be doing a, you can say, a job and wouldn't be working on yourself. On the other hand, if you get a RA-ship, then you would be doing job and you would be also building your profile, right? You will be building your skills and it would be beneficial for you too. So the pros of the research assistantship is that it would be funded by professor, own funding, and so it will be also covering your fees. It will be also giving you stipend, and but it will be more research oriented position. So you would be working on some specific project of the professor. So you will be doing research on his behalf, developing your own skill in the process, and working on that specific program. So this scholarship would probably have a defined research area that professor has. So you have to work in a specific domain. It would have its own goal and objective that you have to, you can say, fulfill, and the funding is basically available for the whole program, and you would easily graduate without any tension of the funding. And if I talk about uh, how this funding is being basically computed or provided to the professor, why they are basically hiring students. So there are some positions for the professor that are basically uh, containing research and doing research work, and they basically applied for funding from, you can say, university or government bodies. So these bodies basically provide funding, and a part of this funding is separated and segregated for the students only. That the professor have to hire students to work under them for that specific research, and they are obligated to provide these funds to the student. So they have to hire students for sure. Otherwise, their funding would be wasted. So this is why professors are actively looking for different students who are willing to take part in take part in research. So this is one thing, that there is funding which is segregated, and professors have to give this funding to the student for sure. So that's why there is a big opening or you can gap, and you have to keep looking for specific professors who has funding, and if he has funding, then he can basically fund you for your own masters. And I have seen many students who have come in the US and have done their masters completely funded, but it was thesis. So thesis, non-thesis, it doesn't make any difference. But if you are getting fully funded masters just by doing you can say thesis, then it's not a bad deal. On top of that, you would be making skills and learning a lot of stuff during your whole master's period. So this is the two different paths. And if we talk about a scholarship path, like I talk about Fulbright, so as I already talked about, it's very competitive and it's very prestigious too. So it's for both masters and PhD. And for you to basically get this Fulbright scholarship, you should have a very good academic profile, a very good GRE score, a very well written essay, you can say SOPLON, that the committee would be assessing you on. And but the downside for Fulbright scholarship is that you have to sign a bond with the US, that after your studies that you have to come back to your home country and serve for around 2 years, if I'm not wrong. But the bright side is that it's fully funded and the amount of stipend is pretty good, and you are free to carry your own research. Like you are free to do research in any specific domain that you are interested in. Whereas if I talk about RA, research assistant, you have to work in the domain of professor, or you have to basically work in the domain that the project is, and you cannot deviate from that because you are getting paid to work in that specific domain. For HEC scholar, I would hand over to Tala because he is also on HEC scholarship. He can basically better guide you guys on what are the different options, how to work for the HEC scholarships. Over to you, Tala.
So hello everyone, my name is Taha. I'm currently doing my PhD in University of Houston. My program is petroleum engineering, and my research is related to CCUS, carbon capture and storage. So for HEC scholarship, it's only for PhD program, it's not for masters. So, but you can directly come from bachelor's to master's, you can apply. Most of the students in Pakistan doesn't know that. So it's better to apply directly for PhD because you're saving your 2 years, you're saving your finances, you're saving your time. You have to do like, I think 4 or 3 more courses. For PhD, mostly you have to do 6 courses. But if you're applying directly from bachelor's to PhD, you may or may not have to do 4 more extra courses. It's a bilateral program. US and Pakistani government would sign an agreement I think in 2015 to send every year 1,000 Pakistani students to US. It's for 10 years, so mostly there are not much students to go to PhD in US. I mean, the general number of students who go through these programs are 300 or 350. So every year there are vacant seats left because people are not applying. Students are not applying to for the PhD. So they have 2 categories. Either you apply for, first you have to apply for the university admission, and then when you don't get as Farooq said, Yasir said, if you don't get a TA or RA or any other scholarship, you can go to HEC and you said, okay, I have a admission in this university. I want to get a HEC funding. But it is good in some ways and it is bad in some ways. I will explain it. It is equivalent to Fulbright scholarship. It pays the same amount as the Fulbright pays. It is kind of easy, but the downside is you have, as Yasir said, you have to return to your home country for 5 years. PhD for 5 years, they generally say. So you have to return to Pakistan for 5 years and serve the country. And US government has also some criteria that you have to leave US for 2 more years. So that's that. But the eligibility criteria is that you have to have a bachelor's degree. You are not above 35 years of age. If you're working in government of Pakistan, working with government of Pakistan, you can be like I think 35 to 40 years of age. The maximum limit for that is 35 years of age. 40 years of age for civilian, it's like 35 years of age. You don't have any prior HEC scholars either for masters or anywhere PhD, but you don't have to have any PhD any prior scholarship. The last is they have 2 categories. One, the first is that you get an admission in QS ranking 50 under 50 world ranking universities. So then you are fully funded. You don't have to take a GRE or HEAD test. And if you don't get a QS ranking under 50 scholarship, university scholarship, then you can get up to 300 QS ranking scholarship. But there you have to take a GRE minimum of 300, I think, score. And then for HEAD, I think that's 60, I guess. So. And so if you get either of these, you can apply to FTC. Basically, you go to their portal, you sign in, and you do all the information and stuff. Then you have to submit a statement of purpose that's separate from what you apply to in your university. It shouldn't be that. It's more generic. I mean, it's easy, but it should not be that one that you have submitted to your university. What else is there? I would suggest to basically, if you have exhausted all your scholarship options, either RA, TA, or any other, then you should go for HSC as a last resort, because mostly people don't want to come back to Pakistan after they pursue their education. So, but in this case, because you have signed bonds with HSC, like it's kind of a contract, and it's very hard to rescind this contract. So. But you can, like there are some clauses like if you pay back the whole amount of funding you have taken over your program with like 25% of additional penalty, then you can rescind that program and you can stay in the US. But even though US government have that clause that you will be living, you will be leaving US for 2 years. So 5 years for HSC, 2 years for US government, that in cumulative. So it's kind of like if you have exhausted all your other options, then you should go for that one. I think that's all from me. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Talak. So, like I mentioned, there are many opportunities if you go towards the research path, because there's a lot of funding with the professor, and there are a lot of vacant positions, and professors are continuously looking for good students who are committed and are more in line towards research. So this is just, you can say, a quick, brief roadmap for how you can basically approach different professor. So the first and the outmost, you can say, important step is that you have to identify your interest that you are willing to work in, and how you can basically relate your experience, prior experience, either it's your final year project or your industrial experience or your coursework experience or different projects that you have done in the university, with the domain that you're going to work as, basically research domain that you're preferring to work in. So first of all, identify that area. Once you're done with that, then start looking for the universities that you are interested in. You list down the universities, you have listed down your area of interest that you are willing to work in. Once you have both of these parts sorted out, then you should start looking for the professors. So out of the listed down university, you go through each university one by one and see in that, like if you have electrical background or CS background, then you go to the CS department and see how many professors are there and how many professors are basically doing research. So in university, every professor is basically doing research. So you go to each professor's profile and see what's his research area and what he's basically working on. And if you go to the website, it's pretty easy. You go to the department site, the department's page, Then there is a option for the faculty. Then you go to the faculty, and then all of the professors are basically listed down with their own personal website. So you press one professor's profile, then it's going to take you to the his personal website, or you can say his lab's profile, where all of his recent publication, by publication I mean research articles, and his recent project or funding that he's basically acquired, all of that information is listed down in his specific lab web page. So you can go through his lab page, see in which domain this specific professor is working on, and if this is the same domain that you have sorted out previously. And if it is, see how you can basically try to find similarities between your work and his, and try to read his papers, one or two his recent papers, and try to connect with his current, you can say either PhD or master student. There's also a list of students that's basically currently working under him. You can ask his students regarding how you can pursue to the professor, because it's a big help if you can get connected with the students that are working under the professors, because it's more likely for you to get a reply back from the students than the professors. And if you can get in touch with the students, then you basically increase your chances of getting, you can say, accepted by the professor, because student can provide a good word to the professors for you, and professor basically try to ask guidance, or I not would say guidance, you can say their uh, recommendation regarding the student. Like if there's a student, the professor basically gonna ask his student, "What do you think about this guy? Is he gonna be a good fit in our lab?" And most of the time, is the student deciding which student to take in, or most of the time, the current student basically recommend that there's a bright student back in Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, whatever, and he's looking for higher studies. He got a good track in research. So what would you say? Then the professor, if the professor liked the profile of the person, then he basically gonna accept him for the higher studies. So the first step is identify the domain of interest. Then you list down the university. You go to the faculty list, find out the professor that are working in your specific interest domain. Then follow those professor on their LinkedIn pages, follow their lab pages, see what they are working on, what are their recent research, and then you're gonna draft a very concise and brief email in which you would be highlighting your interest in his research, and try to come up with some sort of, you can say, insight, like you have worked on this one, I like your this specific part, and I have also prior experience in this specific domain, and I was thinking like how we can basically improve this specific thing by blah blah blah, if you can provide it. Or you have to show your prior skills that you have also worked in this specific domain, you have worked in this specific project, little bit brief detail about the project, that basically gonna produce or increase interest of the professor in you. And you have to basically sell yourself, showing that you know how to do research, you know what's the specific area is, what is being done recently, what is the state of the art, and you have to pitch it to the professor like you are selling yourself. So if you draft that specific precise and brief email, then you send that email to the professor, and you have to do this step over and over again with consistency, because consistency is the key. Like if I talk about myself, I've emailed hundreds of professors as I was covering different region as well. So you have to do that. And one of the, you can say, key point over here is that you shouldn't be emailing professors of the same department simultaneously, right? So you have to email them step by step. Like if you are targeting a specific university, a specific department, then you should email one professor a day. And then if the other professor in the same department, then you should email him if the previous one hasn't replied to you in around 3 to 4 days, then you can reach out to the other professors. And the thing is that you can also send a reminder after a week to that professor, or try to reach out to his students, ask them about the lab, ask them about the funding situation, and all those stuff. And like I mentioned, you have to do your homework. So doing homework is pretty much important if you want to basically obtain this specific research scholarship. So you should know what professor is basically doing, what is current research, and all those stuff. So in the email, you briefly draft an email, add your resume, and that's it. send it to the professor. You don't need to add all of your transcript, your master's degree, your IELTS score. You don't need to add all those stuff because professors don't have time to go through each and everything. They would be just looking at your email and your resume. So you should be highlighting your plus point in your resume. So, and your resume should be concise too, like one page. So in the US, it's a norm to have a resume of one page. You should be able to compile all of your highlights in one page. And if we talk about uh, what other document you can attach in the email, like if you have prior experience of research in your bachelor's or master's, then it's a plus point. And what you can do is that you can basically draft a little research proposal based on professor's research interest. Like if a professor is working in specific domain, let's suppose he's working in renewable energy, and then you draft a brief, concise research proposal that you are working in this specific domain, you have worked on this one, blah, blah, blah. This was the problem statement, and these are the, you can say, gaps in this specific domain or can work. And we can basically try to overcome these gaps by this specific approach or by applying this specific technique or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just try to draft a research proposal. You can go through, I'm going to provide you a link of Scholarship Network to basically have an idea how to draft research proposal. And if you can come up with that, you can say document, then it's a very big plus point for you because professor would be highly interested in you because this will show that you know how to do research, you know how to write proposal, and you know how basically research is being done. And you're also highlighting his work with the domain information and also providing your insight on how to basically overcome those problems. So it's a very big plus if you can do that part too. It will increase your chances by a lot. Then you have to customize your profile with each professor you are emailing. So you shouldn't be making a generic profile and sending it out to every professor because it won't work. Professor will basically get an idea that this is a generic email and this guy doesn't basically align with my research. So he won't give any thought. He won't even look at your document. He will just pass out your email. So you have to customize it with every individual professors. On the other side, you should start working on your skills too. Like if you talk about the CS students who or students who are interested in going towards data science or ML and AI part, so you should. There are plenty of courses or you can say projects available on the internet that you can basically do and try to provide that show that basically showcase professor that you are proficient in these specific skills and you know how things work. And then another recommendation would be to have good relationship with your university professors because a lot of academic professors had connection with professors that are in, you can say, US, Europe, and since they are their colleagues, they have moved out to different country and they are basically professors in international universities. So they have their connections. So if you are in good terms with your academic professors, then they can basically recommend you to their colleagues. And if you are being recommended by the professor or your own university professor, then it's for sure that you're probably gonna get funded because he's recommending you and he knows the guy and the professor on the basis of your professor's word gonna hire you. So the process of going through the interview and all those part applying part would be skipped and you basically gonna be get accepted. So this is my insight. Develop skills, have good relationship with your academic professors, try to increase your uh, connection on the LinkedIn, try to connect with as many professors as possible, try to connect with their students because more of the professors or students publish openings on LinkedIn too. So if you see a opening, then you can basically approach the professor that I saw that you have an opening in your lab. I'm also interested in this specific domain. I have done this blah 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 with prior work and my profile blah blah blah. Basically align with your research, and then there's a good chances that the professor gonna respond back to you and basically have a series of interview with you and provide you acceptance for the scholarship. So in a nutshell, if we have to summarize all the information, so our main goal was to provide you guys with a brief information regarding the application process, like how you should manage your time in terms of applying if you are basically targeting US. And then the other portion was to provide you guys with information like how many different types of scholarships there are available and how you guys can basically apply for those scholarships, and a little bit brief on how to develop skills and how to reach out professors. And I would recommend every one of you to follow a Facebook group page, which is Scholarship Network. It's a very pretty good resource that I followed while I was applying for the scholarships. And there's a lot of student, you can say alumni or seniors, who are providing great help resources for you on how to draft different documents or what are different opportunities in terms of scholarship. So there are a lot of scholarships available, but you have to put in some efforts. And most of these scholarships are more related towards research. And so if you have no issues with the research and you are willing to put some in effort, then there's a pretty much good chance that you probably gonna get a fully funded scholarship. And stay committed, stay consistent, you will land scholarship easily. And as I mentioned, there are a large number of scholarship available for research assistants as well as for different uh, positions for T as well, or you can say other scholarship as well. And one thing I would like to add over here is that if you're not just targeting US, your end goal is not just US, your end goal is to have higher degree from internationally, then I would recommend you to explore other options as well. Like one option for the masters that is pretty good is Erasmus. Erasmus is a very pretty much good option, which is basically a Europe program. You will go through 4 different universities in Europe. It's very prestigious. It will cover your tuition. It will also give you stipend, and it's a pretty good program. Then there are some other scholarship as well. Like there is a scholarship for Ireland. If I can recall, it's called Advanced CRT. It's a direct PhD scholarship. Like if you're done with bachelor's, then you can basically apply directly for the PhD. It's also fully funded in its Ireland. Then there's some UK scholarship. Then the Germany masters for the public university is there's no, you can say, tuition fee for the Germany universities. So there's an option too. So there's a lot of option for you guys. So for starters, you just have to identify what's your end goal. Are you willing to do research-based masters, or you are not into research and you are basically trying to focus on non-thesis one? So if you're totally focused on non-thesis one and you're not willing to do research part, then you have to see your options. What the options do you have? So like I mentioned, there is an in-state waiver, or you can basically come to the US and try to do some TA part as well. But university basically prefers students that are pursuing research-based masters or PhD for these RA or TA positions. So have your interests sorted out, see what's your end goal, and then plan accordingly. So I guess the next part is there's also some scholarship from the Houston NEDA part that will be covering by Nasir bhai. Over to you, Nasir.
Thank you, Yasir. Thank you. We have basically passed 1 hour, but really very informative, very detailed, and very comprehensive discussion which you have provided. And the reason we had this, we are having this webinar is to have first-hand information from the students who have applied and who have come to US and who are doing research and who are getting scholarships. So you'll be getting first-hand information, and you are more than welcome to put your comments, ask questions as much as possible. There are people who are asking about like, there would be a recording available? Yes, there would be recording available, but that doesn't mean that your masters would be provided to you in a recording as well. Okay, so you have to show some commitment. You have to be professional. If a time was provided at 10 o'clock, you should have been here at 10 o'clock. That's as simple as that. So I'm sorry to be harsh, but that's the way the world works. Okay. So anyway, coming back to the point, I'll just wrap it up. So this is basically why we are doing this. The reason we are doing this, that NED Alumni Association of Houston, they basically allocated a couple of years back some funds. So we contacted a couple of universities, not couple, like almost 4 universities, and we had provided funds for students who are basically NED graduate and who are looking forward to apply for master's, PhD, or MBA programs. So in this case, we had already exploited university, Texas A&M scholarship, U of H scholarship is already exploited. Right now, as of today, University of Delaware has some funds in College of Engineering for master's and PhD program. So if you are looking forward to apply for a master's or PhD, University of Delaware is a good option. You should be applying to their website. And then we have within Pakistan, if you don't want to leave because of any circumstances, you want to stay within Pakistan, Lumps University is also having some funds available. So you can apply, and I have just provided these all details are also present on Houston NEDA website. You can look at www.houstonneda.us/announcement. These details are already provided there. Some additional information I've added here is basically the contact person. Please don't send them emails or phone calls unless you have applied, unless you have fulfilled their requirement. Okay. So please be professional. Please be concise. Once you have applied to LUMS, once you have applied to University of Delaware, you are more than welcome to contact Ahmad Saad Qureshi or Louis Bank, or call them or email them. But before applying, don't be sending in emails. Nobody will respond to you until you have an ID, a number that states that this is your application number. So please be very concise and very to the point when you're sending emails. But before doing that, you have to apply for those degrees, either in University of Delaware or in LUMS. So I have basically provided here a little bit, time workflow, how these applications are basically accepted. So Houston NEDA has provided those funds to the College of Engineering in University of Delaware, University of Houston, Texas A&M, and in LUMS University. So students are expected to apply, and we don't control the admission process. So you have to fulfill whatever the requirements are as stated by Yasser up till now, and that is basically general for every other scholarship. So you have to provide your statement of purpose. You have to reach out to and get the recommendation letters from your current professors. You have to, pass or provide some test scores, TOEFL, GRE, whatever the requirement, and then you have to submit your application. Based upon your application, based upon your GRE, GPA, previous GPA, bachelor's GPA, the university will decide that they are willing to give you the admission or not. And based upon your financial circumstances, which would be evaluated by the university themselves, they will do these scholarships. So it's pretty standard process here. What we are telling here, like what Yasser, Talha has explained it to you, is nothing new. People are doing this since, I guess, before my birth. You have to follow the same procedures, and you will be getting the admissions. And there are people who are coming from other countries. They don't have their English as their spoken mother language. They are able to get admitted. They are assimilating in this society. They are getting accepted in this society, and they are, having a bright future. Having said that, one correction that, even if you are coming on a research-based funding, it is not that you would be asked to stay in the US. Again, staying in the US is completely voluntary, behavior. It's up to you. You want to stay in US. It's up to you. You don't want to stay in US. You want to go somewhere else. There is no bond in here. That's a free society. I got research assistantship. I got graduate assistantship. I guess Yasser didn't mention about graduate assistantship. There is another graduate assistantship where you basically become a part of university administration and provide your services. And I went back to Pakistan So there was no strings attached to like they have paid me, so I should be staying here. Anyway, it's solely your decision. But please, there are ways. I know there are people, the young generation, who is getting frustrated in Pakistan, but there are ways to go and have your living standard improve, and you have to follow that. You don't need to basically pay someone for this. Every documentation is basically provided on websites. USCIS has provides every documentation on their website. Every university provides their information on their website. You don't need to basically um, scammed by someone, some individuals. And the reason we have these bright students here is that they are here. They have basically chosen US as basically to study, and they haven't paid for anything. They are studying here, and they are part of this assistantship, and part of the departments and organizing different activities. Also, I would like to basically ask, so is this the last slide, or there is another slide? Yes, sir.
This is the last one.
Okay. So as I told you, the final takeaway is that University of Delaware still has funds in College of Engineering. Lumps University still have funds for the master's MBA program. If you are looking forward for any engineering degree in US, please apply to University of Delaware. It has certain criteria. It has a GPA requirement of 3.5 GPA. In the College of Engineering, it has multiple departments. Go to its website. We cannot guide you upon which department you should be applying. It should be your personal choice. You should be doing by yourself. We can provide you information where our fundings is. One thing which Yasser mentioned, that follow up with your professor, follow up with your alumni as well. For me, I remember when I came here like 25 years back, I basically just keep on bugging my seniors. That helps a lot, and that's why we have these alumni. So if you feel, and I asked this question in your when you were registering, that if you have any family member in US, so the best thing would be, if your family member lives around Chicago, you should apply somewhere near Chicago, or in Illinois. If your family member lives around New York, it would be good for you to apply around New York City, or New York State. So that's what the reason was. Again, please be. Is that in next slide? If you can move to the next slide. Okay. So again, last thing before we go for the Q&A is that US is a continent. It's basically has 51 states. Every state has basically different weather patterns, different economic conditions, different financial requirements to live there. So deciding where to apply, you should be looking those factors as well. So and the weather is drastically different. So if you are hot weather guy, you should be more than welcome to come to Texas. If you like mountainous area, you should be going to Colorado. If you have money in your pockets, you should be more than welcome in California. It is very expensive. So these are some things which you should be taking into account. Now, coming to the questions, before going to the questions, I would like Yamuna to give some feedback, because she's a female who have came to US. She has done her master's. She's right now working in US. So Yamuna, can you briefly, within 5 minutes, give your experience and just an encouragement statement for all the ladies who have joined?
Sure. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I came here in 2016 for my first master's, and then the way Yasser explained it to you is exactly what I did. I approached different professors, and it was like 50 to 60 emails I did all together. And then one of the professors responded, and my research aligned with their research. And then I came for research-based master's, and it was fully funded. So what Yas has emphasized on, that you have to be very committed. You have to like follow through the plan. It's not nobody's gonna come and help you. You have to put all the work in. So first of all, before starting and before thinking that you have to do masters, have a game plan. And then similarly, if you want to do non-thesis based, you have to be in that mindset that, okay, the funding opportunities are going to be limited in that. And for research, there will be more. For non-thesis, there are limited funding opportunities. So even if you can manage to get the funding first from personal finance for first semester, after first semester, you do get some sort of assistance from the universities, like GTAship or GTA, where your tuition becomes half, and you have to pay half, and it becomes in-state tuition. So, but still you have to pay some portion. So that is the thing. And one more thing I need to add for IELTS, if you want, try to score like target 6.5 IELTS in every section, especially speaking, because when you come here and if you want to get GTA, graduate teaching assistants, they ask for 6.5 minimum. For admission, yes, you can go for 6, but if you want GTAship, you need to have 6.5. So I would just suggest, recommend, please target 6.5. And then on the point of me being a woman and I came here, it was when this process is similar. You apply for like other students and everything when you come here, and belonging from Pakistan, I'm just talking to the female crowd here. If you are, I know some people have those reservations that, you're observing hijab, you're doing those things, and then you might face, problems here. You will not face any problems here. There is a lot of acceptance here, and just be the way you are. And that is not a hurdle in your education here. You will be treated equally. Everybody's treated equally. So, I was lucky enough not to have any bad experience yet. During my master's, during my job, I did not have any bad experience. So, and in the universities also, it's as you are like, same as your counterpart. So there are no other problems in terms of social environment. I didn't face any issues in that. The society is very welcoming, and as long as you know your lane, you will be good. That's all about it.
Thank you, Yamna. So let's go over a few questions since let's wrap it up by 11:30. Everybody is okay with that? We have 10 minutes. So we have question from Uriel Lal Muhammad, and he's asking, I'm in my final year for CS bachelor's and interested in pursuing my master's in Texas A&M, sustainability and energy. I'm going to be graduate by June 2025. What should be prerequisite or guidance for scholarship, and right now from where should I start? So I guess we have already explained this to you, Uriel, and you have joined this on the right time. And I guess for 2025, you should be preparing by 2024. Yasser, would you like to add something?
Like we have already mentioned, we have already given them the roadmap, like how much time they should have prior before planning their master's or higher studies application. And if she's going to apply by June 2025, then she's probably targeting fall of 2025. So it is good to start her application right now.
Okay. Next is Raza Ansari. He's saying, I'm a second year civil engineering student seeking knowledge and advice. I'm focused on my studies, but eager to learn from other experiences. Any guidance or insight would be greatly appreciated. So that we have already provided, I guess. If you have any other questions, you are more than welcome. You can reach out to me and I can refer it to you, Yasser, Talha, Yamna, or Abdullah. Then we have Maliha. Does the direct PhD option available for any fields? Talha, would you like to answer this?
Most of the university does that, but if there's some specific case, I don't know. So reach out. I would in generally say that don't be scared. Reach out to your coordinator, different programs, different professors. The more you reach out, the more options you will have. So reach out to as many professors, as many departments you can. You will learn everything. I mean, there's no dearth of resources here in US. US. So ask for everything you can. Ask for waivers for the application. Ask for waivers for your GTF, your tuition fees. They have enough money. I can assure you, they provide money to all of the world, so they can provide money to you as well. So, if you cannot get in one university, then and I would say keep 4 or 5 options ready for you. I got the admission in 4 universities. I applied for many. I got the university. I got the admission in 4 universities. I have my options. So at the end of the day, it is my choice, like where to go. It's like Nasir Bhai said, which state do you want to go? So it's on your part. If you only apply for 2, 3 universities, you will be rejected and only get in one university. Then you won't have the options. They won't provide. If they don't provide you any scholarship or something, you're then done. So reach out to them, push them harder, ask for everything. Ask for even GRE or IELTS waiver. Ask for application waiver fees, because these fees adds up to a lot. When you're in Pakistan, you are earning in rupees, and you convert to like $100 for each application, and then you are you are thinking to apply for 50 universities, so you are adding up to like $1,000 or $1,500 just for applications, and then you are getting rejected. So it's better to push them. They will have something for you.
Thank you, Salah. Then we have, is this process for only international student? What about someone has US equivalent master's degrees and seeking another master's? So Yamna, I guess you would be in a better position because you have double masters. Not many people do that, but Fahad Qureshi, can you answer this Fahad Qureshi's question?
Is this
quickly?
process for only international? What was someone? You can, like, even if you have one master's in the US, then you can definitely apply for another master's. That's not a problem. It's easy, but you have to justify. Like, I mean, if you are going again for the thesis one or the funded one, you will need to justify them that why you did this one and now you want another one. You need to tell them and explain them what is your interest aligned in the new masters. So that's how the way you explain it, and that's about it. You have to just explain them and make them understand why you want to do it. And as long as if you are paying for it, they don't care. They'll give you admission. So.
Okay.
Person, when someone has US equivalent master's degree, so this means even if you do masters from Pakistan, that is US equivalent. So even if that's the case, that's okay, that's fine. A lot of people do that. They have one master's in Pakistan and then they come and do it here. That's normal.
Actually, student from China, basically they do a lot. They have masters in China, they come here and they do the same course again. Like I've seen.
I mean, that's something I am not sure of, but that why would you want to do some double masters in the same thing? Maybe it's very similar to what you want to do, but yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, but it is not recommended.
It is not recommended. Like if you are you have done instructional engineering from China and then you'll come here and do again. So that wouldn't make sense.
Okay. So we have answered. So can you please discuss the eligibility criteria for master's scholarship? We have already provided that information, I guess. You don't need to. Can you guide me on how to shortlist top universities for civil engineering? I'm feeling a bit unclear about the criteria to consider. Should I look at factors like ranking, location, program curriculum, research opportunities, faculty expertise, alumni network, something else? I guess you have already written what we need to check. Something else, Yamna, you would like to add something else here?
I think Yasser explained in the presentation very well that you need to shortlist the universities according to your profile. Rest of the things will be secondary. First, what your profile is and what the university is asking for. If you have a 4.0 GPA and then you have 40 in GRE, then go for the top ranking and find the university which gives you most funding. Other than if you have an average profile, find the universities which will accept you again, one or two universities you should apply which are that they're in that range where you might get an admission, they're like top ranking, that's okay. But have 3 to 4 comfortable universities which where that okay, you're gonna apply, you will get the admission depending on your profile. So just do that, and then if you have alumni close near, I mean, in that university, that's fine. But that should be wherever you're getting the maximum funding, and whichever university gives you admission. That should be our priority.
Yep. Thank you. So Salam joined the session late, where we can get the recording for the session. We'll be uploading the recording on YouTube, so you will get access to it. If you have registered, I'll send you an email with the link as well. Mr. Talha, can you share your LinkedIn profile? I don't think Talha will be sharing his any profile here. Okay, then last year, NED Houston Association announced scholarship for 3 US universities, including Texas A&M. Can you tell about that as well at the end of the webinar? Yes, we have already spoken about it. So if you have any other further question regarding to it, Mr. Ahmad, you can put it in the chat window. Is it better to opt in for M engineering program or MASC program if we want to go for a career in academia, like teaching in a college or a university, etc.? Yasir, do you have any knowledge about it, please?
So if you're planning to go into the academia, so it's recommended to go for the Masters in Science. So Masters in Science basically is a degree which is based on thesis, and most of the universities as MS, Masters of Science, and they are basically, you can say, obsoleting M engineering. Like in Texas A&M, we used to have M engineering degree for the non-thesis one, but right now they have just removed the M engineering, and it's either Master of Science with thesis or Master of Science non-thesis. So it's, I think in NED we get M engineering, but in the US I have seen most of the university either have MS in thesis or non-thesis. And if you're going to the academia, I would recommend you to go with the thesis one.
Okay. So again, just be clear about the master's program or graduate studies program in US. As contrary to Europe, especially Great Britain, here the master's program is 2 years. So every university will push you to do some research. The master's in US is basically considered that you have done some research work, at least a research paper or your research thesis. So this is part and parcel of master's program here. So that's why we or universities in US, they encourage you to do a master's program, which is thesis. They would encourage you to do a PhD, to be very frank, but you have to show some commitment. And if you are applying for a PhD program, your chances of getting scholarship are much higher. But then you have to commit for it as well. And then again, if you are not able to do that, there is an option that you can take away and go out, branch out with the master's degree as well. But that is not recommended, and we are not here to, promote that. But, there are always options that you can, take a master's degree and move away from the university, depending upon your financial circumstances as well as job situation. So then there is basically, Salam, I finished my master's from Novosibirsk State University, Russia, in the field of geology, geophysics, and looking for a PhD position. Already approached professors, waiting for their responses. Okay, so I guess, Talha, you can basically help this gentleman or lady, I don't know, the name is not clear. So Umar Hussain has a question. Hi, I did not achieve a high CGPA during my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. However, I am currently excelling in my master's program within a subfield of mechanical engineering. I would like to understand the criteria for evaluating a candidate applying for a PhD scholarship. Will my bachelor CGPA negatively impact my application? Are there any additional consideration I should keep in mind before applying? Oh, yes, sir. You would like to answer this?
Yeah, for sure. So like you mentioned, you have lower CGPA, so I would recommend you to highlight your other plus point. That would be, if you are going for the PhD, then you probably should have done some research work or have some published article in your master's. If you do, then your CGPA doesn't matter. and I would recommend you to reach out professors first. And since you are opting for the PhD, then and you are having some publication and your research work in your master's, then your CGPA won't matter because professors would be more interested in having a student who has prior experience in research, who know how to do research, who has some published paper, who know the ins and out of how to write paper, how to publish, and how to conduct research. So if you can highlight those points, then your CGPA won't matter.
Okay. And then, if your CGPA is lower, then, give a GRE and show them that you have a good GRE score. GRE helps you a lot. So you have to show the commitment. So here, basically, it's a very objective type of relationship. If you can value add to the university, to the department, to the research group, professor will induct you. If you are there for something else, they will just throw you out. It's as simple as that. So you can show that, yeah, you had some issues, you were not focused in the beginning of your life, in your academic career, and now you have gained focus. But that should be shown based upon not your wordings, but based upon your scores or a publication. Or if you're doing a master's, publish something. Show your commitment to your work.
I would also like to add, Nasir bhai, one more thing. Like, since you have a lower CGPA, so my recommendation would be to reach out professors first instead of directly applying to the university and then reaching out professors, because university probably gonna gauge you on your scores and all your CGPA. But if you reach out to the professors first and professor is ready to take you in under his research lab, then your admission would be seamless and there wouldn't be any issue with your CGPA or any test score. So that's one thing you should try.
Okay, so we have another question. Publication matter to secure the PhD admission? Yes. I guess even in masters, if you have a publication, that would count a lot, because the professor will know that this person knows how to write a publication, how to do research. Talab, what do you say?
I would say, yeah, that's a plus point, but don't count on a single thing. Like if I have a good publication, or if I have something, I have experience or something, they judge you on a whole of your profile. So make it a complete profile. If you have a low GPA and you have something other than that, good thing other than that, like you have two publications, okay, you failed a course early in your bachelor, that doesn't matter. Try to show them your positive things. Try to reach out to them. I once talked to my coordinator, and she told me there was one student who called her, and like he failed two courses early in the bachelor's, and he was applying for master's in my department. And then he contacted the coordinator on a call, and he told her the story of why he failed in the bachelor's, like two courses in the bachelor's, and it was a valid story. And then they considered that, and they admitted that. So it's luck, it's your profile and everything, and try to push them, try to call them, try to do as many emails. Just try your luck, I would say that. And it's a whole profile, not a single thing.
Yeah, and just don't give up. It's as simple as that. Okay. I unfortunately failed three courses. This has already been answered. Already graduated from NED food engineering. So how much time is required to get research means how many emails? I'm not clear what do you mean by that. To get the research, you have to look on basically university website and see where the research is going on, and then reach out to the individual universities. So it all depends how much time you can spend on this. This is basically a search. That's it. Sorry, as I mentioned, as far as your name in Ireland, can we please repeat that? Thank you.
So the scholarship name is Advanced CRT. I'm going to type in the chat.
Okay. Can we write a recording of those who missed this started? Yes, you will get the recording. Is NED Association still funding the University of Texas or only University of Delaware in US? So we have provided fund in Texas A&M that has been exploited. In University of Delaware, we still have that fund. And once all those funds have been utilized, we will then, refill those different universities again. But until those fund has not been exploited, we cannot do that. So until even a single university is left with those funds, we will not be refunding it. So I hope this answers your question. I have done bachelor's now, want to pursue master's, but my CGPA is low. Kindly guide me. How can I apply? MS degree with low CPA. We have already answered this question. Can we apply directly PhD after bachelor without publication? Yes, we can. There is no requirement that you should be having a publication, but you should be showing some commitment in your statement of purpose or letter of intent, where you should be showing that you are committed for to doing a PhD. Mohammad Ansari, should I focus on becoming a participating engineer or pursue further studies like IELTS, Masters after graduation, seeking a better back career path? So it's up to you. For engineers, you should, it is recommended that you should be working for industry, getting an idea, and then go back for Masters or PhD. But, you know, there are cases where students basically just finished their final year, applied for GRE, got their GRE, IELTS done, and then just went directly to the PhD. So there is no right or wrong. It's basically how you want to take life. And the more professional work you do, the more connected to you keep yourself with the industry. In future, it is easier for you to get back into the industry. The more connected you keep yourself with the research and development, the more connected you are with the basically universities, the better chances of getting um, professorship or lecturership in universities. So there is no right and wrong in this case. It's just that how you want yourself to be after 5 years. There are some compromises in each cases. If you are in university, you are doing research and development. You are sitting in air conditions and you are enjoying your life. You are doing some intellectual work. If you are in industry, you will be like a rugged tool. You will be moving around. And then there are some university programs which are integrated with the industry as well. So there is a mix and match as well. But to start off, you can do so many things in your life. So I would suggest, if you are getting a job, go for a job and simultaneously prepare for IELTS and GRE, and then come and do your masters. What else? Okay, so how can we contact the teachers? Which teachers? So teachers of the prospective university, you have to go to the university website. You have to go to the university department website and then look for those professors. They have their showcased all the research and development. They have their email addresses there, and you can basically apply from there. Tips of securing masters. How can reach professor? How can we get to know whether they are providing scholarship? This is already answered. Tips of securing masters in a different field than of your bachelor's. I don't think there is any tip. You just have to apply for it. You have to build some profile for it. And then if it's not in your field, your bachelor's is different, you have to basically complete some pre-required prereqs. So if you're going in a civil from electrical engineering, you have to do some structures 101 course. If you haven't done that, you cannot apply for it. You missed my question, so just retyped. Where is your questions? Tips for securing masters in a different field than your bachelor's. Okay, I guess I have answered your question. What is the best time to reach out professors during my final year? Is it mandatory to have the degree in my hand or to apply for scholarships? I don't think so. Yes, sir, can you answer this?
Yeah, there is no time limit. So as soon as you can apply for the email professor, you can. So the best time is to reach out to the professor in your final years, because you're going to start your application process 1 year before the program start. So it would be your final year. So you should start applying in your final year. And once you get acceptance of the professor, it's good. You can work with the professor while you're in Pakistan. It would basically help you improve your relationship with your professor. So it's always good to start as soon as you can. Even I would recommend students who are in their third year to start emailing professor, trying to build them some relationship with the professor that are working in the US universities, try to do some internship. Like if you are free in summers, try to reach out to the professor and ask them if you can work with them remotely and do some projects on the research. Even if they are not paying you, you just work with them, show your commitment, and once you are graduate, then you already have a link with them. Then you can just ask him if you have an open position, and since you have a relationship with him, so he would probably give you scholarship.
Okay. Can we get scholarship to study for our last 2 years of bachelor's in abroad universities? Yes. I don't think so. In undergrad programs, there is very little chances of getting for international students to have scholarship. So actually, the structure the US universities is that basically their work engine is research and development, and they considered students for research and development in their graduate studies. For bachelor's, basically US universities make money. So they admit students based upon what research is going on, and they attract local students and international students. And most of the cases, it's paid for. I haven't seen personally international students. Very rare cases I've seen international students getting scholarships in undergrad studies. So the best way would be to complete your bachelor's and then come for master's degree or PhD program. Can YASA provide other scholarship in Ireland which are easy to secure? I guess if they were easy, Yasser would have been there. Since Yasser is in Texas A&M and in US, I guess Yasser can help you with the US more. Can we get research scholarship at the time of admission? Yes, we can get. That's what we are discussing here. So if you start your work on a timely basis, like if you are preparing to apply or looking forward to get scholarship, you should target for 2025 fall. So 2025 fall, you should start working on 2024 fall, and then you should apply, and you will be able to achieve scholarship at the time of admission. I guess we have already passed 45 minutes of our time, and I really thank you all, especially the hosts as well as people who have joined. We will be providing this webinar on YouTube as well. Are there any other questions left, or somebody want to say something? So there is one last question. I'll end it up with that. Is it professionally okay that taking email from university website and emailing professor directly? Yes. Talha, Yasser, Yamna, what would you like to say about it?
Yes, because that's the way the professors can be reached, and that's why they have all their research work, their area of expertise, and their whole laboratory links over there. So you can see what they're doing. So they want research people who are interested in their research to contact them and work for them. So it's totally okay that only a professor will respond to you if he's interested in you. He gets hundreds of emails every day, and they just ignore them. So your job is to email them, and that's it. And it's totally professional.
Okay, on which channel this seminar will be provided? So if you have registered, I will send you the YouTube link over email. So once this get completed. So I guess we have already done all the questions and answers. If you guys think we have done everything, I guess let's wrap it up. Thank you so much who have joined. Really appreciate your time. And please stay in touch. Stay in touch with your seniors. Stay in touch with your friends who are basically in US. Prepare for GRE, TOEFL. Start doing some research. Start looking forward to the cutting edge technologies. Go to university's website. Start interacting with the professors, and you will get, inshallah, you will get somewhere. I've seen people, especially, I don't want to name, I don't want to be racist, who don't know English, and they are here, and they are working. They don't know the system they are working. So I don't feel any problem for an Indian, for anybody coming from any other country. If you have a proper mindset, if you have an engineering acumen, you should apply. You should come to US. And there is straightforward ways to apply, and there are straightforward ways to get scholarships. You don't need to be scammed. You don't need to pay anyone. Everything is documented. Follow the university website. Follow USCS website. See what scams are going on. Follow what the procedures are. What the requirements are, and you will get the visa. You will get the scholarship. You will get the admission. Thank you so much. Thank you, Yasir. Thank you, Talha. Thank you, Yamuna. Thanks for your time. And hopefully we'll try to get something again later or before the end of this year. Thank you. So I'm closing it now. Why I'm not able to end this call?